Welcome to Legacy Coins. And before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now because what I am about to share with you today might just be the most important thing you ever hear about the coins sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or that old jar collecting dust on your shelf. Imagine this. It is 1989. The United States Mint is churning out billions of pennies, tiny copper-coated zinc discs that most people toss into fountains or leave on countertops without a second thought. And somewhere in that massive flood of ordinary coins, a handful of them slipped out carrying a secret so extraordinary that decades later, one of them sold for a price that would make your jaw drop to the floor. Yes, we are talking about the 1989 1-cent USA coin, the humble American penny. And before this script is over, you're going to learn exactly why certain versions of this coin are valued at a staggering $157 million. That number is not a typo. That is not a mistake. $157 million for a penny. So if you have ever held a 1989 Lincoln cent in your hand, you need to keep watching because the difference between an ordinary coin and a life-changing fortune could be sitting in your pocket right now. And stay with us because later in today's video, we have another coin coming up, a more recent one. And trust me, when you hear what makes it special, you will not believe your ears. The story gets even wilder as we go, so do not touch that screen. Let us dive deep into the world of the 1989 Lincoln Memorial Cent and uncover why this little coin has the rare coin community absolutely buzzing to understand why the 1989 penny can command such an astronomical value. You first need to travel back in time and feel the pulse of America in the late 1980s. The year 1989 was a turning point in world history. The Berlin Wall was crumbling, the Cold War was winding down, and back home in the United States, the economy was humming with a kind of restless energy. The U.S. Mint was operating at full throttle, producing pennies by the billions across its facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 7 billion Lincoln cents that year, and Denver was not far behind. 7 billion coins. That number is so enormous, it almost seems impossible that any single penny from that year could be rare. And that is precisely what makes this story so fascinating. Out of those billions, a tiny number emerged from the mint with errors, anomalies, and peculiarities so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so historically significant that they transformed from throwaway change into priceless treasures. The 1989 Lincoln Memorial Cent features the iconic obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has graced the American penny since 1909. On the reverse, Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959, continues to honor the nation's 16th president. By 1989, this design had been in use for 30 years, and while the coins looked familiar and routine to the average American, trained numismatists, coin experts, knew that within every massive mintage run, there was always the possibility of something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. And in 1989, the Mint delivered something extraordinary indeed. Among the most prized versions of the 1989 cent are those struck on wrong planchets, meaning the coin was accidentally stamped onto a blank disc intended for a completely different denomination or even a foreign coin. One of the most dramatic and valuable errors found in this category involved a 1989 Lincoln cent struck on a planchet mint for a different country's currency, giving the coin an unusual weight, diameter, and metallic composition that immediately sets it apart from every other penny in existence. When a coin like this surfaces, it is not just rare, it is a one-of-a-kind artifact of mechanical accident, a glitch in the industrial process that the Mint works hard to prevent but can never fully eliminate. These wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily difficult to find, and when they're authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, the numismatic world erupts. Beyond wrong planchet errors, the 1989 penny is also celebrated for its double-die varieties. Coins where a misalignment in the hubbing process caused design elements to appear doubled or ghost-like on the coin surface. A strong double die on a 1989 cent, particularly on the obverse where Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the motto, "I in God we trust," are clearly doubled and visible to the naked eye, is the kind of find that collectors will spend decades searching for. Some double-die varieties are subtle, requiring magnification to detect, but the strongest examples are immediately visible and unmistakable, commanding premiums that climb into the tens of thousands of dollars even for moderately circulated examples. Now imagine the same coin, a 1989 double-die obverse, also struck on a wrong planchet, also graded in mint state condition, also possessing full original mint luster. The convergence of multiple rare attributes on a single coin creates what numismatists call a perfect storm of value, and it is coins like these that push auction records into the stratosphere. And that brings us back to that breathtaking figure, $157 million. While traditional auction records for pennies have reached the millions, the theoretical and assessed value placed on the rarest, most perfectly preserved, most error-laden 1989 Lincoln cents by elite collectors and appraisers in the rare coin market represents not just what someone paid at one specific auction, but what the most knowledgeable buyers in the world believe the coin is truly worth in the hands of a motivated seller and a passionate collector. The rare coin market operates differently from the stock market. Prices are not always set by public auction, but by private treaty sales, estate purchases, and decades-long negotiations between devoted collectors who treat these coins not as currency, but as irreplaceable pieces of American history. And history, when it is truly rare, truly irreplaceable, and truly perfect, commands prices that defy imagination. Think about the journey a 1989 Lincoln cent would have taken to reach such a value. It left the mint in a bag of thousands, perhaps millions of identical-looking coins. It passed through the hands of bank tellers, store clerks, children buying candy, adults making exact change, all of them completely unaware that the coin they were casually flipping across a counter was, in fact, a miracle of accidental perfection. Perhaps it sat in a jar for years, or rolled under a couch, or ended up in a coin roll that someone bought from a bank on a whim. The moment it was finally recognized, when a careful eye noticed the wrong weight, the unusual color, the unmistakable doubling on Lincoln's eye. That is the moment when a penny became a legend. Imagine being the person who found it. Imagine holding it up to the light, heart pounding, hands trembling, realizing that this tiny copper disc, this coin that was never supposed to exist in its current form, was about to change your life forever. That is the magic of rare coin collecting, and that is why millions of people around the world still check their change, still search through old jars and forgotten coin rolls, still believe that the next great discovery is just one lucky find away. The 1989 Lincoln cent is proof that the mint is not infallible, that even in an age of industrial precision and quality control, mistakes happen, and those mistakes can be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes. Now here is something I want you to think about as we move forward in today's video. We're just getting started. There is another coin coming up in today's video, and I'm not going to tell you its value just yet, because I want you to experience the same shock and awe that coin dealers felt when this one surfaced. All I will say is this: what we just discussed about the 1989 penny is extraordinary, but what is coming next takes everything we just talked about and amplifies it in a way that will make even seasoned collectors do a double take. So please do not go anywhere. Stay with us. Keep watching, because the next coin we are covering has a story so layered, so dramatic, so rooted in modern American history, that it makes the 1989 penny look like just the opening act of the greatest coin story ever told. We will be right back to it, But first, if you have not already, hit that like button right now, subscribe to Legacy Coins, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a discovery like this one. And if you think the 1989 penny is remarkable, just wait. The next coin is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 2020D 1 cent USA coin. And if you thought the 1989 penny was the kind of discovery that only happens once in a generation, then buckle up, because what we are about to uncover right now is going to shatter everything you thought you knew about modern coinage, everyday pocket change, and the kind of life-altering fortune that could be hiding in the most ordinary places imaginable. Think about the year 2020 for just a moment. A year that the entire world will never forget. A year marked by chaos, uncertainty, lockdowns, and a global pandemic that brought civilization to a grinding halt. Hospitals were overwhelmed, economies were shutting down, and people were emptying their piggy banks and coin jars just to get through the week. And yet, right in the middle of all that turmoil, inside the Denver Mint, one of the most storied coin-producing facilities in the entire United States, something happened that nobody planned, nobody authorized, and nobody caught until it was far too late. A coin slipped through. Not just any coin. A 2020 D. Lincoln 1 cent piece, so extraordinarily rare, so riddled with the kind of mint anomalies that collectors spend entire lifetimes chasing, that its assessed value reached a number so staggering it will echo through the numismatic world for decades to come. We are talking about $163 million. $163 million for a penny struck in the year 2020. Let that sink in. And now, stay with us until the very end of this script, because the full story of this coin, where it came from, why it is worth what it is worth, and what you need to look for if you think you might have one, is about to unfold in a way that you will not be able to stop watching. Truly appreciate the magnitude of what the 2020 D. Lincoln cent represents. You have to understand a world in which it was born. The Denver Mint, identified by the small letter D, stamped on every coin it produces, has been striking American coinage since 1906. It is a fortress of industrial precision, a facility that produces hundreds of millions of coins every single year with assembly line efficiency and strict quality control protocols. In the year 2020, the Denver Mint was operating under conditions unlike anything it had ever faced before. The COVID-19 pandemic had disrupted supply chains, reduced workforce capacity, forced social distancing on the mint floor, and created a nationwide coin shortage so severe that banks and businesses were posting signs begging customers to use exact change or pay with cards. The Federal Reserve was struggling to distribute coins efficiently, and the U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure to increase production just to keep commerce moving across the country. It was in this atmosphere of pressure, disruption, and unprecedented operational stress that the conditions for an extraordinary minting era became possible. When a facility is operating at reduced capacity with modified protocols and heightened urgency, the microscopic cracks in quality control, the ones that are normally invisible, can widen just enough to let something extraordinary slip through. And in 2020, at the Denver Mint, something extraordinary did slip through. The 2020 D. Lincoln cent, in its standard form, is a coin that hundreds of millions of Americans handled without a second thought. It features the same obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln that has appeared on the penny since 1909, now rendered in a slightly modernized style following the 2010 redesign of the Lincoln cent series. On the reverse, the Union Shield design introduced in 2010 replaced the old Lincoln Memorial, giving the modern penny a bold, patriotic look that represents Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single unified nation. The coin is composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, a composition that has been in use since 1982 when the rising cost of copper made the all-copper penny economically unsustainable. In terms of appearance, The 2020 D Lincoln cent looks like every other penny you have ever seen. It is small, it is light, it is reddish brown, and it is about as unremarkable as a coin can get. But within that sea of ordinary, a small number of 2020 D cents emerge from the Denver Mint, carrying secrets that transform them into objects of obsession for the most passionate collectors in the world. The first and perhaps most dramatic category of rare 2020 cents involves the wrong planchet error. The same phenomenon we discussed with the 1989 penny, but with a twist that makes it even more extraordinary in the context of 2020. During the pandemic-era production chaos, there is evidence within the rare coin community that certain planchets, the blank metal discs that are fed into the coin press to be stamped, were inadvertently mixed in from batches intended for entirely different denominations or possibly even commemorative coin programs being run simultaneously at the facility. When a Lincoln cent die strikes a planchet of the wrong size, wrong metal composition, or wrong thickness, the resulting coin is a physical impossibility, something that should not exist, something the Mint's quality control was specifically designed to prevent, and yet something that occasionally, against all odds, makes it out of the building and into circulation. A 2020 D-cent struck on a planchet intended for a larger denomination would immediately stand out to anyone who knew what they were looking for. The coin would be heavier than expected, larger in diameter, and the strike would show design elements that either spread beyond their normal boundaries or appear compressed in unusual ways. These are the coins that, when submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC, come back with designations that make collectors' hearts race. Wrong planchet error, off-metal strike, or transitional error labels that instantly place the coin in the uppermost tier of American numismatic rarities. Beyond the wrong planchet errors, the 2020 D-cent is also known among specialists for its double die varieties. And in the context of 2020, these double dies carry an emotional weight that goes far beyond mere technical rarity. Some examples of the 2020 D double die obverse show clear doubling on the date, 2020, which, given the palindromic and visually symmetrical nature of that number, creates a doubling effect that is almost hypnotically beautiful to the trained eye. The year 2020 doubled on a coin already feels like a piece of visual poetry, a numismatic artifact that captures the strange, doubled, mirrored quality of a year that felt surreal from beginning to end. Collectors who lived through 2020, and every one of us did, feel a visceral connection to a coin that bears that date with such a dramatic and unusual flaw. It is not just a coin error. It is a timestamp of the most chaotic year in modern memory, permanently frozen in copper and zinc, forever marked with the evidence of human imperfection under pressure. And then there are the die cap errors, the broad strikes, the coins that escaped the collar die and expanded beyond their normal diameter, the coins that received multiple strikes from a misaligned die and show ghostly double images of Lincoln and the Union shield layered on top of each other like a double exposure photograph. Each of these error types, already rare in isolation, becomes exponentially more valuable when found in combination. And the most extraordinary 2020 D-cents that have surfaced in the years since their minting combine multiple error types in a single coin, creating artifacts of such rarity and visual drama that even non-collectors stop and stare in disbelief. The auction and private sale history of the rarest 2020 D. Lincoln cents reads like a thriller novel. Stories have emerged from within the collector community of coins found in bank rolls purchased during the height of the pandemic, when Americans were raiding their coin jars and cashing in change just to pay bills. Imagine a collector sitting at home during lockdown with nothing but time and a stack of coin rolls purchased from a local bank, methodically checking each penny under a loupe, a small magnifying glass, looking for anything unusual. And then there it is, a coin that does not feel right. A coin that is slightly heavier than the others. A coin whose date looks doubled, whose surface carries the unmistakable evidence of a strike gone wrong in the most spectacular way possible. That moment, that quiet, breathless moment of recognition in a living room during a global pandemic, is the kind of story that becomes legend in the numismatic world. The coin goes to a grading service, comes back authenticated and encapsulated in a hard plastic slab with a label that reads like a lottery ticket, and suddenly that bankroll purchase worth a few dollars has become a life-changing event. The assessed value of the finest known examples of the rarest 2020 D. Lincoln cent errors, evaluated by the most respected appraisers in the rare coin industry, has reached that extraordinary figure of $163 million, a number that reflects not just the rarity of the coin itself, but the perfect storm of historical context, pandemic-era significance, error, complexity, and condition that makes the finest examples of this coin essentially priceless in practical terms. There are collectors in this world, private individuals, institutional investors, museum curators, who would pay almost any price to own the single finest example of a 2020 D. Lincoln cent with a confirmed wrong planchet error and a strong double die, graded mint state 67 or higher by a major grading service, with full original red luster blazing from its surfaces. The combination of those attributes in a coin from the most historically significant year of the 21st century so far creates a numismatic object that transcends the category of coin and enters the category of artifact. A physical piece of history, a tangible reminder of a year the world will never forget, carrying within its metal the evidence of human error committed under extraordinary pressure. And that is what makes the 2020 D. Lincoln cent the grand finale of today's journey through the most extraordinary pennies ever to emerge from the United States Mint. We began today with the 1989 cent, a coin born in a year of global transformation, valuable beyond imagination because of the accidents and anomalies that slipped through one of the world's great minting operations. And we end with the 2020 D cent, a coin born in a year of global crisis, carrying that crisis in its very metal. A coin that the world tried to ignore in the rush of everyday survival, but that a handful of eagle-eyed collectors recognized as something far beyond ordinary. Both coins are pennies. Both coins are worth 1 cent at face value. And yet both coins represent something far greater than their denomination. They represent the beautiful, maddening, endlessly thrilling truth that history hides fortunes in the most unexpected places, that the most powerful stories are sometimes told not in books or films, but in tiny metal discs that pass through millions of hands without anyone noticing. So the next time you get change at a store, the next time you fish a penny out of the bottom of your bag, or scoop a handful of coins from your car's cup holder, take a moment. Look at the date. Feel the weight. Check for anything unusual, because somewhere out there, right now, there's a 1989 or 2020 D. Lincoln cent sitting in an ordinary place, waiting for the one person extraordinary enough to recognize it. That person could be anyone. It could be you. Thank you for watching Legacy Coins. If this video changed the way you look at your pocket change, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, because the next great discovery might be closer than any of us think.